Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for organic Bible study. We're looking today at Psalm 48, verses 12 through 14. We've been looking here at the city of God. We've seen the subject of the city of God come before us and being used, actually, this idea of the city, being used actually as a metaphor for all that we believe. There's the idea of praise, the idea of judgment and fear, the idea of endurance and eternality, the idea of meditation, praise and worship, gladness and rejoicing. It's all here, and it's all found to be connected to the city of Jerusalem, the city of our God. Actually, Jerusalem isn't mentioned, but we have the city of our God, the city of the Lord of hosts, the city of our God mentioned twice. So it's very important. Zion is mentioned here. And so we've been talking about this as a metaphor. We come today and we're looking at verses 12 through 14, and we're going to walk around Zion now. So let's do that. Let's take our walk. Walk about Zion and go around about her. Tell the towers thereof. Mark ye well her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation following. For this God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide even unto death. So we're walking about Jerusalem. What are we seeing on this little tour of Jerusalem? Well, first thing that we come to see are the towers thereof. Tell the towers thereof. And then in verse 13, we're told to mark ye well her bulwarks. So not only are we to tell the towers, that is to name them. What are they? Where are they? What are their names? What's their history? But mark them, that is, know them, know where they are and what they mean. These towers and bulwarks, ladies and gentlemen, constitute those doctrines of the church that are essential for us to know and understand. Every believer needs to be a student of the doctrines, and there are certain doctrines that are just essential. Salvation for one of them. The doctrine of salvation or redemption is one of those primary doctrines that we need to understand what it means to be a part of the family of God. And how do we get there? I mean, we need to be able to tell the towers and mark well the bulwarks. Why? That we may tell it to the coming generation, the one that follows us. So we need to be the teachers, but to be the teachers, we have to tell the towers, mark well the bulwarks, and notice the next thing, consider the palaces. Now, we talked about the palaces in verse 3. Remember that? God is known in her palaces for a refuge. So there's something about the palaces that's extraordinarily special. The palaces are mentioned in verse 3. They're mentioned again here in verse 13. So mark ye well her bulwarks, consider her palaces, or that doctrine that God is a refuge. In him there is hope. In him there is help. In him there is goodness, and in him alone. We need to mark well those places, to consider them, so that, and he gives us this in 13, we may tell it. So you're going to teach. To teach, you need to understand. You need to have digested the information so that you can relate it back to the folks who come after. This involves study. This involves meditation. This involves memorization and recitation. So this is a little work we have to do here to get ready to be the tour guide. You just can't be a tour guide someplace that you know nothing about. And I'm afraid that in the church today, we have a lot of members who could never be a tour guide for the church. And then we close here in 14 by saying, for this God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide even unto death. Join me again next week. We'll look at Psalm 49 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.